Okay, so guys, I'm going to very quickly, or Mario, I'm going to very quickly go over the year end itself, and what you would actually need to know at this point. So basically, it's the year end preparation. And if you actually had to go into sagekb.com, and what you will do is if you scroll down slightly, it normally comes up with which products to use, and you select Sage 50 Cloud. If you type in year end, you will see that it gives you a lot of different options. What we want to look at is the overview of the year end guide. In the overview of the year end guide, it literally tells you that there are 3 steps. There's step 1, which is preparing the year end, step 2, which is running the year end assistant, and then step 3, which is the after year end checks or post year end checks. So if we click on preparing the year end, there are specific steps in the year end preparation checklist. And those are things like setting up your 13th period, your year end stock take, the foreign currency revaluation, ensuring that you have a retained income account and that you only have one, the data integrity, ensuring that all of your open batches have been updated, ensuring that you have run your year-end reports, and then making sure that you have made a backup of your company. So here you would click what you need assistance with, and it would take you to that option. So what the 13th period is the 13th period is an extra period that allows you to finalize your year end. So, for example, if you are running from March to February, by allowing the 13th period, it gives you March so that you can process in March while you finalize February, because there are certain things that you cannot do after you've run the year end. Those things include, if you are using multi-currency, the foreign currency revaluation, as well as processing customer and supplier documents. So if you get to the end of Feb and you know that, hang on, I haven't processed all of my customer or supplier documents, you would either have to run the year end and process journals, or you could say 13, tick the option, use last period as first period of next year, and ensure that it is showing correctly. So it then increases to March, and we see that it closes on the 31st of March 2025. And you would click OK. Pretty sure that it's consecutive. This 31st. Oh, it's doing this because of that. Sometimes, unfortunately, it does do that, or it could be last year. So I think last year was a leap year. So if that comes up, you may need to send this through, for example, to DataFix. So this issue that it says the last year's end dates and this year's start date should be consecutive. Basically, what it's saying is this says the 1st of March 2024, but this is the 28th of Feb. They've made a little mistake here, and this should have been the 29th of Feb. So this would need to be fixed by a data fix. In this instant, the 13th period is in fact set up. So that is as simple as it is. You literally say 13. Should you get that error, it's going to have to go in for a data fix so that they can fix that for you. If not, you say 13, you tick the option, you say, okay, you've got an extra period. Then the next, there are 3 main things that are super important. And that is basically running your data integrity. And I would advise that you actually run the data integrity now, because a lot of people don't run the data integrity. So file, data integrity, verify the data only, and process. What you want is you want it to tell you there were no errors detected. If it tells you there were errors detected, depending on what the errors are, depends on if you need to send the data through to us. So if you get the error missing accounts, please go and create those accounts and then rerun the data integrity. It's probably going to give you main, period, or main and sub, or it's going to give you something where it tells you that it doesn't balance. That is what you're going to send through to us. The The only time that you don't need to send it through is if you have open item out of balance and it's for the current year, which will be once you've run the year end last year. Any other errors need to be fixed before you run the year end, and even open item out of balance. I would advise if you can spare the 1 to 2 business days, please send your data in and get it fixed. Because if you have errors that require a data fix and you only get hold of us in March, that 1 to 2 working days might become 2 to 3 working days. So it's really important to run your data integrity. The other really important thing, but this you do just before you're ready to run the year end, is to make a backup. Ensure that you have a backup. Once you have run the year end, you cannot reverse it unless you restore a backup. So either you select the drive where you want to back up to. In this case, I am going to select my C drive. I am going to give it a new folder, year end backup, or you can do. Now, this you do literally just before you're ready. So you would run through all the other checks, you would make sure everything is done correctly, and then you would go, okay, I'm going to backup process. If you are backing up to your C drive, it's going to tell you you are doing this. The reason that it tells you that is that if your hard drive crashes, the backups go with it. So it is advisable that you do move this backup to an external source, like an external hard drive, a memory stick, that you put it in Dropbox, that you put it in OneDrive. If you are using IronTree, that is great. It means that they have your backups, but you want it somewhere that should your computer be stolen, should your computer crash, should the hard drive stop working, it's not a case of, oh, I've lost my installs and all of my backups. We do not have any access to your data. We cannot restore your data, phoning us and going, hi, my computer crashed. I use the software through you. Do you have my data? No. The data is stored on your hard drive. Please make sure that you have backups and that you have backups on external sources, possibly more than one, just to be sure. You would then, from that step, literally go to change year end. Now, obviously, there are more steps in this process. What I was showing you is 2 of the most important steps. The other step that cannot be run after the year end, because most of the other steps, if you do forget to do it, you can do it in the new company after running the year end, or in both companies. And I will explain what I mean by both companies. But something that you cannot do after running the year end is processing the foreign currency revaluation. So if you are using multi-currency, you have to process your foreign currency revaluation before you run your year end. Processing it after you've run the year end, it is going to cause issues. Now, what the foreign currency revaluation does is it looks at the master file for your customers, suppliers, and bank accounts in home currency and in the currency you have set them up as. So let's say you have dollar customers, suppliers, and bank accounts. That value will show you the dollar value. Then, if you had to say, I want to see in home currency, it will convert according to the exchange rate for that period. Now, because of the fact that our exchange rate is so volatile, the chances are you've either gained or lost on the sale or the purchase. So with the bank account, if you had to move money from the bank account, you're normally going to do that when you know, for example, the dollar is stronger than the rand. You're not going to do it once the rand recovers. So that's what we mean by that. So when you run this revaluation, what you're doing is you're looking at it and you're going, okay, when I processed all these transactions, there was a specific exchange rate I used. When you say next, and I've selected everything, you can reconcile one thing at a time. So you can do cash books, customer accounts, supplier accounts. You can do one at a time. For example, we can just do cash books, or you can do cash books and customers, or you can do suppliers and cash books. So it's your choice. I've selected all, but you can do them one grouping at a time. So you can't do like one cash book, one customer. It's all of your customers, but only customers, that type of thing. If we say next, it is going to ask you to edit the exchange rate. So what it's doing here is it's going, okay, which period? And if we look at that 12th period, now for the dollar, guys, the fact that this is in the first one, this is not going to make sense. Why? Because the rand is weaker than the dollar. So the first option is this is what the foreign currency is, value is equivalent to 1 in your currency. This is a fraction. Technically, we want to select the second option if the currency is stronger than the home currency, because this is 1 in foreign currency, and this is where you can go, okay, for example, this is, yes, I know. Sorry, guys, it's just because there are open batches. But here we can see when it changes, what is it saying? It's 2 Rand 57. We wish it was 2 Rand 57 to the dollar. So here, for example, we're saying 8 Rand 56. That is a figure in my head. I have no idea what it is right now, but we can enter that value accordingly. So this is you making sure that, hey, I'm not using an incorrect value. You can go look up the spot value, enter it here. You can go look it up for all of them if you want, or you can just do it for the one that you are using. Hopefully, every month when you've run this revaluation, you have checked what that figure should be. And you've ensured that, as I said, if the rand is weaker than the foreign currency, or if your home currency is weaker than the foreign currency, that you've selected the second option and not the first option. Click on OK, and then you're going to enter a reference. For example, year end 24 reval. You can say next, and this is where we're going to print a report. In printing the report, I'm selecting all here because I did select everything. Here you can select the different options if need be. You can just have banks, just have customers, just have suppliers, or a combination of those. I want to see 0 items. If you don't want to see that, you deselect that, and we go OK. Now this does not print to screen. This will only print to printer. If you don't want to print to the printer, I suggest that you use a PDF printer. We say OK. And we can go here in 24 reval. I'm putting it into my documents, and we're going to say save. Then you would need to go and look at that revaluation. But again, as I said, this is only if you use multi-currency, and this is to see exactly what the revaluation is going to do. Here we can see, okay, this is what was calculated, this is the balance, this is the variance. And what it's doing is it's going in dollar, this is the dollar value, this is the exchange rate. This is what I see, this is what the balance is. It is not correct, so it's going to alter it by a variance of 15,000. Now, if you see a huge variance like this, you may want to go and investigate what happened, why this variance is so big. Did you possibly process transactions with the incorrect exchange rate? Because it should not be this big. You can go correct it, come back, and then rerun. If you're happy with this, though, you can literally just say process in Pastel. So you can basically go next. It's going to tell you what you're doing. You can say process, and it will tell you how many adjustments were made, and you can then click on finish. So guys, as I said, those are 3 of the main ones. Okay, sorry, I see that there's a chat. Oh, no worries. Okay, so I'm just going to run through. No worries at all. I didn't see the message initially, but this is specifically for you. I hope you enjoy it. But those are the three main things that are really, really important. Is that data integrity, is if you are using foreign or the multi-currency, that you do please run the revaluation, or if you have customers that use it, please run the revaluation before the year end, and then obviously making that backup. Now, where the backup is not a major issue, and please don't not make it, but it's if you run the year end, and I'm pretty sure I do have open batches. So if you're not sure if you have open batches, you go to view open batches and it should pop up on your screen. Now, this will prevent the year end from running. And this is if you have any open batches in point of sale or in Pastel. So here you can see that for user 0, there is in fact a point of sale tax invoice, as well as a cash up that needs to run, and there's a tax invoice. So in this instance, I can jump to the tax invoice and I can go and have a look at what this is. So either I can look at these and now I need to decide, are these valid? Are these invalid? If they're invalid, what a lot of people do is they would select delete and they can go delete whole batch. Where a lot of people make a mistake is when they delete the whole batch, they forget to update it. Just because you've deleted the transactions does not mean that the headers and the lines are not still sitting in an open batch. You have to go batch update, and you have to update the fact that those documents have in fact been used. Only when you click on global and it comes up and says no records found have you in fact cleared that batch. So that is if you choose to delete. Obviously, if you choose to update, you can choose to update, or alternatively, you can place documents on hold. Now, if you place documents on hold and you update them, they will remain in an open batch. As long as they are on hold, it will run. You cannot place point of sale documents on hold. Now, the question is, do I have point of sale installed? Sorry, I asked that question because of the fact that I was a product specialist. I am now no longer a product specialist. I'm actually a digital content creator, so I removed a lot of staff, but I've taken over the webinars again because they were being run by someone else. Okay, I don't have point of sale installed. I did not realize that. But if you are using point of sale, or if, like me, you don't have it installed, what you can do is you can go to pastelupdate.sagesouthafrica.co.za. You go to modules and additional applications, and then here you would select point of sale. Now you can either select SQL, and that is if you have customers who are running large data sets, or if you are running a large data set. Otherwise, you can also install Microsoft Access. We're going to quickly use Access because that is going to be the quickest to install. So this is fully downloaded. Good. If you do use SQL, there is a very specific way that you have to run the year end though. But where's my install? That's annoying. I did say it had installed it. So the SQL, you would have to download SQL, you would need to install it. That takes a long time to do. Now, why didn't you download? There you go. And basically, once you install point of sale, it will link. Now, Access is obviously the easiest. There is no linking up to a database. It creates a new database, that type of thing. It just creates a documents.mdb file in the actual company file. This is also if you were using offline point of sale where you could do that. Offline point of sale is a whole nother program altogether, and there's a whole different way to do that where you deploy and then you fetch and then you actually run your year end. So you have to have fetched the data first. There you are. But basically, once you open it, you go File, Open, and you can then open the company. The only thing is, depending on how you set it up, you may have to close your Pastel. So in this case, I know that it's set up with one set of numbers per company. So you do need to close your Pastel in order to be able to open up your point of sale or the company in point of sale. Double click the company, enter the user's password where it showed you the tick. So mine is user 0, but if it had said user 3, you have to log in as that specific user. If you're not sure which user it is, what you can do is you can go view, you can go into your batch listings, and then you can go through each option. In this case, it did say it was a tax invoice, and you can say run report. Now, this will tell you it's printing to a printer, but it does in fact actually print to screen. And here we can see that there is a cash sales account for user 0. And we can see that it is invoice 10020. So if, for example, you logged in as the administrator and you get the message that there's nothing to edit, you can come in here and just double check the user again. Once you know which user it is, you then log in as that user. If you're an administrator, normally you have to go process point of sale, select the relevant documents, and you click on edit. But you do exist for editing because you told me that you do. So if you get this, it means that you've logged into the wrong user. The thing is, I know that I have not logged into the wrong user, so I am a little bit uneasy. And that was definitely under sales. It could be the reason that that comes up. Okay, so it's not on hold or cash on delivery. So it is a document that hasn't been updated. So if you do get that and you've double checked and it's not coming up, it's not because it's on hold or cash on delivery. What you may need to do is you may need to close. Yes, you want to exit, and you may then need to go to process, update all documents. Start, if you don't have a backup path, it'll ask you to select one. I normally just select the Pastel folder and I say OK. And then start. And what this is doing is this is making sure that all of the documents have in fact been updated to Pastel. So in this instance, that was probably a document that was processed. It wasn't placed on hold or COD, but it was not yet updated to partner. So once you've updated all documents, you can then go to process, supervisor cash up, and you can check. In this case, we only have user 0. We can see that there's a check. We can enter our value. If we see that there's a variance, we need to see why there's a variance. We can see here that there's also cash. So basically, I would have counted that. If there's no variance, we can finalize the cash up. If there is a variance, this variance is for you to check, okay, where is this variance coming from? Is the money that I've counted not the money that the computer sees? Is maybe the cash portion and the credit card portion differing? If I look at the credit card slips, did someone maybe say cash instead of credit card, etc.? In that case, it should still be 0. But just so that you can see, you might have done the money, seen there's a variance and be going, what's going on? Then you calculate the credit card and you see that although there's a variance there, it does make zero. You're fine. If there is a difference, this is where you need to go speak to the cashier and ask them what possibly happened. Was money taken out that was not accounted for? Just so that you know what happened. This is basically a theft check. Once you're done, finalize cash up. And again, if you want to be safe, you can update all documents, or we can close. Do you wish to compact? Yes. I always do that with access. We can then reopen our Pastel and we can check our open batches. Now, the open batches can be difficult, especially if you do all of this, but it doesn't clear. That could be that it hasn't updated correctly, and then there are certain things that you can do to actually fix that. So either there could be a batch with a missing user, and then you would need to go and create the user. If you are running the latest version, what should happen is it should tell you there's a batch with a missing user and ask you to create the user or move the batch to the administrator. And you can then just go create that user and check on that batch and see if it's valid or if it needs to be deleted. Or there are certain files that you can in fact delete because of the fact that although hopefully there are no open batches, it still gives you that error. So sometimes there may be files that we call BTN, BTR, or BTP. So those are your post-dated, your recurring, or your actual journal and cash book batches, and you may need to go and remove them. So in this instance, quotes are fine, sales orders are fine, there are no open batches. So we should actually be able to go change year end. But on occasion, that message, open batches detected, does come up. So if we go next, if you've selected the 13th period, this is a message you should receive. If you do not receive this message, it means you did not tick the option to make last period, first period of next year. That means that you may alter your year end to run from April to April. So you want this to come up if you have selected the 13th period. You then click on yes. And this is where if you haven't made a backup, I don't advise not doing it, but you may be able to salvage if there's an error. And that is if you create a new company called. Now, everyone can do this, but it's whether you run the year end in the new company or not. So for example, I'm going to call this year end 25. Now, if I'm running point of sale, but I'm running access, it's fine if I tick this option. If, however, I am running SQL, you cannot tick this option. SQL Debtors Manager or SQL Point of Sale, because everything is linked to the open company. And by open company, I mean if you look at the top left-hand corner, in brackets, it tells you the name of the company. In my case, it's called Demo. In your case, it could be called Joe Soap 24. That is the company that your point of sale and your debtors manager are linked to. If you create Joe Soap 25, all of the history linked in SQL is going to be lost. You are not going to have any of your actions, your reasons, any of the history, any of the documents. It is going to be like starting from scratch. So if you're running SQL, you can create a new company, but you cannot run the year end in the new company. What that means is it will run the year end in Demo. So if I don't tick this, Demo will become my 25-26 year. So it will run from March 2025 to Feb 26. If I tick this option, whatever I've entered here as the company, as the folder name, so this folder will be called YE25. That will become my 25 to 26 year end. Now, doing this, if you are a multi-user, so you have yourself as the admin and you have 5 additional users, It is not the most efficient method because you will need to go and disable the company on all of the machines and enable the new company. It is actually more efficient to just call the company Joe Soap, run the year end in Joe Soap always, which everyone already has access to, and create a new company and call that, for example, Joe Soap 24, Joe Soap 25, and give that company that is created to your auditors. That is the most efficient. However, the most common method, as long as you're not using SQL, is to run it in the new company as it is currently set up. Does this make sense? Because this is often where I lose people. Are you still with me? Awesome. So you're still with me. Okay, so most common method is to run it this way. Basically, people then click on next, and what it's doing is it's creating a copy company of the company as it is, and you should be told, in my case, YE25 has been created, or whatever you call your folder. It'll tell you it's been created. What it's going to do is it's going to tell you to go change the passwords in the original company. The original company is that company in brackets at the top left. So in my case, demo. The reason that it's doing that is because most people are people of habit, and they tend to open the last company that they open. So it's going to take time before they see, oh, I need to open the 25 company. That being said, though, you may get told that there's snapshots in that's open. That's if you use inventory. At this point, I personally would cancel the year end and I would go and finish the count inventory. However, can you run the count inventory after the year end? Yes, you can. So here I can choose to proceed with the year end. You see, it's giving me an option. It's telling me, look, you may have forgotten a step. Don't you want to go complete it? But can you do it afterwards? Yes. Because I've got a backup, I'm not too worried. Because I'm running the year end in a new company, I'm not too worried. So we're going to proceed just so you can see what the year end looks like and what happens if you don't do everything when you should. Once you say yes, it's going to tell you what reports you should print. Now, you should have printed them first. Is it a big deal? No, you can 100% print them after. Not a big deal. You can print the reports as your auditors tell you to. Next, it's going to explain to you what the year end does. And basically what it does is all of your income accounts are zeroed. All of your balance sheet accounts this year's moved to last year. And the this year table is incremented by 1 full year. That's what it does. And then you click on process. Do not at any point cancel this operation. Sometimes it may come up at the top where it says not, what is it? It comes up with a small error at the top where basically it tells you that it's not processing, and please don't cancel this process because it is going through not responding. That's what it does. If it says not responding, ignore the not responding and leave it. There are companies that are huge that customers need to run overnight. What you want is you want to come back where it says year end completed. If it is still trying to run overnight, you can force it to stop, but then you have to have a backup because we will not be able to fix the errors that it's created. As long as it says year end complete, you click OK and you click on finish. What it will do is if you ran the year end in the new company, it will automatically open that company. The first thing that you do before you do anything else is you run data integrity. Why? Because the year end can cause errors. As long as it says no errors were detected, we good. The very next thing you do immediately is you check your periods. You do those two things immediately. You double check that it's March to March, nothing's happened to your periods, you're happy. If you are, now you can do all the rest of the things that you would do. For example, you can then go and open last year's company and change the passwords. You can also go to manage and you can remove last year's company so no one can process in it. But you can do that as you need to. I would advise that you do that quickly if you have multi-users, because as I said, most people are people of habit. They don't even realize that their eyes have seen what's in brackets. And most people will accidentally open last year and they will just happily carry on processing. They will not have realized that there's a YE25. They will see the 24 and their brain, without them thinking, will go, that's my company, because that's what they've been opening for a year. So my thing is make sure that you quickly deactivate or remove last year's company from everyone who does not need access, and possibly change the passwords in this company. Don't change the passwords in the new company. You change the passwords in last year's company. The reason for that is if someone enters their old password and it says it's incorrect, they may remember, oh yeah, Mario gave me a new password, but chances are they're going to go, what's wrong with my password? Oh, I must have opened the wrong company. They open last year's company and it goes in, and again, they're going to process. So you change the password in last year's company. So when they enter their password, they go, oh, why is it wrong? Oh, we rolled over. There's a new company. Let me enter the password there. The other thing here is you can come in here, as I said, and you can then do your count inventory process. Where's my count inventory now? There it is. So count inventory or stock take. So here they call it account inventory, but this is your stock take. Always rebuild the batch quantities. And then it's not going to give me the options because I already had a snapshot on hand. My advice if you ran the year end is in fact to clear the snapshot without updating, especially if you took that snapshot 2, 3, 4 days ago, a week ago. If you've continued to process your information, it's going to cause issues if it has not updated on the snapshot, because the update takes, or the snapshot takes a picture of your inventory at a specific point in time. So I would clear the snapshot and then I would actually redo it. And as I said, can you do it after you've run the year end? Yes, but there are consequences. I just want to check. Cool, you're happy. Okay, so the consequences of running the stock take after year end is if you've processed, for example, in March, that has updated your average costing. And when you run accounts inventory, it uses the average cost on record. So if we do this here, so I've got multi-stores as well. So at times you may not see the store option. You might just see the from and to, and you can just select your items. If you see the store option, you can do this per store, or you can do it for all your stores. Entirely up to you. So for example, I can select a range, I can select one store or all stores, or to select everything, it's just top blank, bottom filled with Zs. Now, with your inventory, you can choose, sorry, to categorize inventory code, inventory category, bin number, or barcode. Totally up to you. You will notice that with inventory category, this becomes a drop-down list. With the others, it becomes a range. So if you've got a drop-down list, ensure that you select the first to the last. Otherwise, most people do use inventory code, and then again you can select a range or everything. If you select a range, the message you receive will differ. So for example, if I say next, here it's telling me that it's about to create a snapshot. If I say process, it tells me 6 items have been processed. Do you wish to take another snapshot? The reason for that is what it's saying is, hey, you've only taken a snapshot of a few of the items. Are you sure this is what you want to do? Because maybe you made a mistake. If you want to take another one and you say yes, it's going to bring you back. And you can correct that. Or if that was purposeful, you can say no, and it will take you to the next step. If you come back because you want to select everything, you can select everything. You will see here, oh, they changed the messaging. It didn't used to do this. What it would do is it would tell you all items have been snapshot and you could only click on yes. In this case, I'm going to say no because it should have done everything. I'm not sure when they changed that. Sorry, I have not been a specialist for 50 for about a year. And I've recently moved to digital, but it did used to be different. I'm glad that they have actually changed that. Here it tells you that the operation is complete and it's going to tell you that, look, your next step is to print out a count sheet. Now, what a lot of people think is if they print this count sheet, they will be able to import it. The count sheet is not in the correct format. The format for importing is very, very dependent on your add-on modules. And this can be incredibly complicated. If you would like me to run a webinar on how to import stock take text files, please let me know because that is a webinar all on its own. The information does exist on the knowledge base though. That being said, you can print it out and people can mark it. Or alternatively, you can use a barcode scanner and you can scan the items. Hopefully it puts it into Excel and then you can manipulate the Excel spreadsheet to look the way it needs to so that you can in fact import. I'm not going to tell you what the layouts need to be, but I will run over how the import works. So if you had to select to import, there are options. And here you will see that you have a quantity method and an item identifier. And it's important for you to know what the options are. So if on your Excel spreadsheet, you only have the item code once, you would select the first option. The reason for this is that the import quantities will replace the quantities you already have on hand. So this means that if I have item 1 3 times, only the last item file will be what is recorded. So you should only have your code once on the Excel spreadsheet. If you have the code multiple times, you will select the second option because what it will do is it will add the quantities together. So if I have item 001 3 times and it's 5, 10, and 15, it'll go 5 plus 10 is 15 plus 15 is 30 and it's going to give me 30. If I selected option 1, it would tell me 15 because that is the last line of item 001. I want it to add them together. I don't want it to replace. So that's what you need to know. Top one replaces the quantities. Bottom one adds the different codes. It adds them together. You will especially select option 2 if you're using serial number tracker. If you use serial number tracker, in order to bring in your serial numbers, you have to put quantity 1 and then the serial number. And so if you have 20 items of item A, so item A, you've got 20 of. You have to put item A on 20 lines, quantity 1, and then you put in the serial number. What you want is you want it to add those 20 lines together because what you're actually trying to do is bring in the serial numbers. So if you're using serial number track, you will always select option 2. Then the item identifier, you either can identify by inventory code or by barcode. And this is important if you are going to create Excel spreadsheets for people. So if you're going to use a scanner and you're going to use barcode field, then that would probably be the best. However, if you're going to use item code, that's also fine. So that is what you're going to use to identify. And basically in the layouts, it's either 2 columns, 3 columns, or 4 columns. And column A is always your identifier. So column A is always going to be either item code or barcode. And then basically you would browse and import your sheet. The other option is for you to enter it manually. Now you'll see there's an option, show items in the snapshot only. If you don't select that, so let's say that we selected that range, all of the items that weren't in that range will show in red. The other reason why items show in red is because they are service items and service items cannot be counted. If you are then entering manually, you would enter the value and then please press tab to move on to the next line. 50, tab. 45, tab. And basically you are capturing the options accordingly. The reason mine are showing multiple times is because it's for multiple stores. Now here my serial number is, so if I enter 10, what you will see is it will tell you 0 of 10. You would need to go in and you would need to then select 10 of the items. So this is you actually looking at the different items and the serial numbers, and you can see this says required 10, selected 8, so it requires 2 more. Now please be more precise than selecting the first 10, but this is me literally selecting the barcode. So for example, maybe 2 was actually defective and I actually have 19. So this is where it's important, where the person counting that stock, if it is serialized, they write down the serial numbers so that you can select what is actually in stock and what is not in stock. Once you have selected all of them, you say OK, and it will stop showing in red. And then you just continue all the way down. Once you're done, you say next. So whether you enter manually or you import, you need to print account variance. This step is specifically important, even if you just print a screen. And the reason for that is if you print this and it tells you physical and there's no difference in the or if it says theoretical and the physical has dashes, even though you physically entered or imported the different options and there is no variance, so it's literally just dashes, it means that there is a problem with your snapshot. You need to cancel this, you need to clear the snapshot, and you need to start again. If, however, it does show you that there is a variance, fantastic. However, if we look, we can see Durban, we can see that there are 50 items. The theoretical said there were 0. The variance is therefore 50, but the unit cost is nil. This means that the average cost on this item is showing as 0. But if we look at our Cape Town and Joburg, the unit cost is 2,240. That is going to grossly inflate my profit margin, and SARS are going to be like, give me. You owe me lots of money. So if you see this is also a problem, and this is where you need to go and check, why is my average cost showing 0? Should it be showing 0? Chances are, no, it shouldn't. Now, generally, the reason why this will happen is because of the fact that many people, set up inventory, think that this is a great idea and it can be depending, but many people, oh, sorry, mine is not ticked, but a lot of people tick this option. Now, yes, this can be a great option, but not when doing account inventory. You have thousands of items and maybe an item says 0, but actually you still have 2 on hand, because then you're going to bring it in at a 0 average costing. You should only really use this option if you are fixing your average cost because something has gone wrong. This should not be ticked by default. This should be for fixing average costing, not to constantly be updating it, if that makes sense. This is specifically dangerous if you allow quantities to fall below 0, because if you allow quantities to fall below 0, the moment this item hits 0, that cost becomes 0. Then you are selling below 0, so you are selling them at 100% profit. Again, SARS is going to be like, yay, you made lots more money than what you actually did, and you're going to have to sit there and do journals. Guys, if you have ticked these, Please don't phone us to work out your books. We do not do that. That is what your auditors and accountants are for. They will have to work this out for you, I'm afraid. So phoning us and going, I ticked this, what do I do now? How do I know what it is? We don't know either. We're not trained CAs, unfortunately. We can help you with the actual software. We can't help you with the accounting within the software. So things like reconciling and stuff, we don't do that. So please be aware of that. It is incredibly dangerous. The other downside of ticking to allow quantities to fall below zero, the moment they fall below zero, even if this is not selected, that average cost is frozen until the quantity is in a positive. So it will not update the average costing if it's below zero. Basically, if you then are happy with your count inventory, you can then update it. So basically, even if you close it, it will keep it open. I always rebuild batch quantities. I say finish, and it will take you back. As long as you've printed it and you're happy, you can update any difference and you can say next. Now, if you notice, I am still in my demo company. So I am not in my year in 25. I opened my demo. So this is my last year company. The thing is, if I wanted to run this, so I already ran the year end, I would have to do this in my demo company as well as my YE25. So I would have to run this in both because this is the company that actually I should print all of my reports out of. But I also need my YE25 to be correct. So the moment you run the year end, these companies, these databases are completely split. So anything like if you have year end journals now and you need to process them, you have to process them in both companies in order for the opening balances in YE to be affected and in order for your demo company, which is a company you're going to give your auditors to be correct. So my advice is to use the 13th period. Otherwise, you're just doubling your work. And basically, that is running the year end in a nutshell with most of the things covered. Do you have any questions? Is there a specific step that you are unsure of that you would need me to run through? I did run through the revaluation quickly. I did go through the stock take quickly. I did go through open batches quickly. Is there anything that you're like, actually, I always get stuck here or I didn't understand that? But that is basically the year-end process. In a nutshell, very quickly. Awesome. Then Mario, basically, all of the information, we will be sending a mailer out as well, which will then nicely condense everything. But as I said, it is here on the sagekb.com. Basically, you just go to Sage 50 Pastel and you can go to year end, however you want to spell it. And if you follow the overview, you will be able to access basically all of those steps. A lot of these things are connected to videos. If they're not, they should be connected to a video once I'm done. I am just updating some things, but basically the knowledge is here and I will embed the videos as soon as I'm finished updating them. The videos should be on our YouTube channel, but they will be there. On the 19th of February, I'm going to run one with regards to errors that you may get on the year-end process. So that is on Wednesday the 19th at 1 to 2 as well, unless you prefer Fridays, in which case I can quickly move it. You get to decide for everyone, aren't you lucky? But either I can keep it on the Wednesday or I can move it to the Friday. But there we will specifically be going through certain errors. Well, no one attended, so you get to decide everything for everyone now.